welcome to Ordinary Extraordinary. My name is Ravi Jassal. I'm the founder of this channel, and I am very pleased and happy to have you here with me today as we kickstart the channel with its very first story. Now, this story is actually an incident that happened to me. However, before we start the story, I would like to express that this channel isn't about me. It's a channel that's been created for the people. It's a channel in which we're going to be talking about lived experiences. And by lived experiences, I'm referring to the personal knowledge, the emotions and the insights that we've all gained through having direct and first-hand involvement in life events. And you never know where your story is going to resonate with somebody else, and that somebody else will realise that they're not alone. So, as we start the first story, as I said, it's an incident that happened to me, and it spanned for approximately 10 years. It was a struggle I had within myself, and it was a silent struggle, but I overcame it. And by overcoming it, I realised that I had actually extracted the extraordinary out of what I thought was the everyday ordinary at that time. If you resonate with the story and would like to leave a comment, then you can do so in the box given below. If you'd like to get in touch with me, the details are also given below, or you can go to my website, ordinaryextraordinary.co.uk, where you can learn a little bit more about myself. If you've enjoyed the story, then please do like, share and subscribe so that you can get notifications as to what's coming up on this channel. Now, this first story is a series of stories which are titled I Am Who I Am, but Who Really Am I? I hope you enjoy the story, and I look forward to your company. Let me introduce myself to you. I'm a first-generation British-born Indian, specifically Sikh Punjabi. And as in most Indian families, I have more than one name, but I'm fondly known as Ravi Jassal. My parents migrated to the United Kingdom in the mid-50s and 60s. I was born and brought up in Shropshire and lived in towns that had very few Indian families in them. I grew up speaking my mother tongue, Punjabi, and my mother taught me how to read and write it. My father was a bit of a film buff, so I grew up loving Bollywood films, the songs, the glamour, the Bollywood gossip, and during most of my childhood, I knew everything you needed to know about everyone in Bollywood. My mother made sure that I learned how to cook Punjabi food. I wore our Punjabi clothes, and she also very gently taught me how to embrace my religion of Sikhism. I did all of that without even questioning any of the teachings in my upbringing. Or should I say, I didn't dare question anything. As I approached the age of around 17, I was told not to have any dreams about going to university, and that doing A-levels was already a privilege, and beyond A-levels, my parents made it very clear that they would be looking to getting me married. Needless to say, I was quite disheartened, and I didn't go on to concentrate on my A-levels too much, and it took all of 18 months from leaving sixth form that I was married. I had a very arranged marriage, as I only met my husband-to-be once, and the second time was on the actual wedding day. Now, life was plodding along, and it wasn't until the late 1990s, when I visited India, that my life took a bit of a turn. I had only actually been to India once before, and that was at the age of 5, so I had very little memory of that trip. So essentially, this was my first real trip, and also the first time I experienced any insecurity about who I was. This trip wasn't just a small holiday by any means. It included my entire family, my children, my in-laws, my parents, my brother and his family. We were all going to Punjab to celebrate my nephew's 11th birthday. I was super excited, as were my children. They kept asking me what should they expect? What is it going to be like? What kind of houses do people live in? The food, the weather, the TV programs. After all, we were going for 7 weeks. I couldn't answer them properly, as I too was going for the first time, really. So I brushed them off with a, let's call it an adventure, shall we? So we arrive in India, and the sting in the tail for me came a few days after we reached Punjab. Despite everything I knew and everything I'd been taught and brought up with, despite being a proud Punjabi woman and executing everything the way it was expected of me within my culture, good, bad or indifferent, despite turning a blind eye to the Western world I was living in and not being allowed to be part of it, I was told quite categorically that I was not an Indian, merely because I was British born and not born in India. I mean, I spoke the language very well, I wore the clothes without effort, I cooked the food that we all could eat. Despite all the laughing and fun times we shared, building new relationships with people I was meeting for the first time, regardless of all of that, I was repeatedly told that I was not an Indian. So was I British? No, because even the census defines me as British Asian. But then I wasn't Indian when I was in India, as I was constantly being referred to as an NRI, which automatically made the statement that I wasn't born there. Talk about confused. So after 7 weeks in India, I came back home asking myself many questions. The biggest being, who exactly was I? I didn't really know who to turn to or who to ask, as no one I knew felt like me. So in my mind, I silently lashed out at myself about all those things and people that I thought had attributed to my confusion. I mean, was it my choice to be born in England? Like I said, I grew up doing everything that was expected of me, never questioning, just accepting things and missing opportunities because they didn't fit into my Punjabi way of life. Only to realise that at the age of 30, all of those things threw me into no man's land. I wasn't given the freedom of exploring or doing things in the Western world in any way. And yet, when I went to the very place I had thought my knowledge and experience would excel and not be questioned, I was told I wasn't good enough. And here began my struggle, the struggle of being able to give myself a true identity. This struggle went on for 10 years with me wanting to find the answers to my thoughts about who I actually was. Who was the real me? I had followed the road society had wanted me to follow, both personally and professionally, but I still wasn't clear about who I was and why I was the way I was. So how did I resolve it? Well, at my milestone birthday, at the age of 40, I decided to get myself an education. And that education that was denied to me at the age of 17. I decided to enroll in university. Now, how I got there, that in itself is a journey and story for another episode. So let's fast forward. Here I was at university enrolling for a degree. Just a side note, pre and post the visit to India, I worked in organisations and environments that centred around helping and enabling communities from diverse cultures. And within that work, I would often catch glimpses of my thoughts of lost identity being mirrored by other people from various backgrounds out there. So, when I created the opportunity to go back into education, I wanted to study something that I was familiar with, and to be honest, it was something that the tutors who interviewed me had picked up on. They suggested that due to my extensive working experience on the matter, that I enroll to study intercultural communication, but not at a bachelor's degree level, but for a master's degree. Wow, now this was insane. Never had I set out to study at that level. Without hesitation, I said yes and thank you very much. The following 18 months were amazing. Again, that's a journey that we'll be visiting in another episode and for another day. But that was the first of my extraordinary moments. Knowing you have a capability is one thing, but executing one's ability is another. I found my inner strength that led me to applying my time, my effort and energy to something which I had only dreamed of, Don't get me wrong, those of you who have or are studying at this kind of level will appreciate that it's not easy. Plus, back then we didn't have AI to help us. So it was a really difficult journey. But I got there and went through it and came out the other end. But the biggest extraction of extraordinariness, if that's a word, was what the course taught me. It wasn't till I started my thesis, my dissertation, that the penny had dropped. You see, my dissertation was about culture, the pillars of culture, and I took an in-depth look into culture, the meaning of it, its influencing factors, the pros and perils of migration for people like my parents. How did relocating to a not-so-familiar country affect them? This enabled me to do a huge introspection on myself, and I began to learn why they were the way they were towards me as I was growing up. For the first time, I was beginning to get answers to all the questions that had been bugging me for years, an introspection that made me come to terms and be at peace with the why this, why that, and the wanting to blame the world and his dog for my confused thoughts and behaviours. You see, I was never a rebel in any way, but that too was because of the conditioning that came out of my culture. All I wanted was to know where I belonged. To conclude this story, my extraordinary was what I learnt about myself. I'm happy to say that thankfully I finally found my answers. Needless to say, I became a happier person through having a clearer picture about myself, a picture that I hadn't realised. The impact of what living within two cultures had had on me was immense. I guess I'd wasted so many years trying to find out where I fitted in. The introspection taught me that there is no right or wrong culture. One is not better or lesser than the other. They're just different. And when I sit back and think about it, I wouldn't have followed and been successful in my career if I hadn't lived across those two cultures. Having that crossover connection provided me with a wonderful career. It enabled me to educate myself and ultimately enabled me to work abroad as well. In fact, my confusion about my cultural identity ultimately became my biggest strength and the highlight of my extraordinariness. So there you have it. Ordinary Extraordinary is now launched. Thank you for listening to the very first story, I Am Who I Am, but Who Really Am I? If you have resonated with any part of the story and you'd like to leave a comment, then please do so in the box below. But if you've just enjoyed listening to it, please do like, share and subscribe so that you can get notifications of things that are going to be happening at the channel. Now, one thing I'd like to say to you is that although this particular story was about me, this channel isn't about me. This channel has been set up for you, the people. Whether it's just wanting to listen to the content or wanting to have an interview or just a conversation with me, maybe you'd like to share your own story. I'd like you to join in and be part of this channel. If you'd like to get in touch with me, the details are given below. You can go to my website or you can actually scan the QR code at the end of this video that will give you immediate access to the website. My email address is also given below. So please get in touch. I look forward to your company for the next video.